Hello everybody, and welcome back to Surfact Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearance of the Week. This is Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. We'll be giving you all the first appearance in your comic shops today. Now this week we have a pretty good lineup for you guys. I think we have 4 first appearances, 3 honorable mentions, so 7 titles in all to go through. Definitely some books in there worth picking up for your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearance of the week, ending July 5th, 2024. First up from DC Comics, Absolute Power number 1. This features the first full team appearance of Amazo robots interconnected through Failsafe Task Force 7. This is The Last Sun, Depth Charge, Jadestone, Velocity, Paradise Lost, and Global Guardian. Now, like we always mention with the DC Comics, really depends on what they do with the characters or the teams that are introducing the comics as to how important these books are going to be in the future and how important those particular characters or teams are going to be. You know, DC doesn't really have the cinematic power that Marvel Disney has. You know, Marvel Disney are able to get a lot of the new characters they're introducing in the comics up on the screen. It gets a lot of attention on them. People will race back to the comics and try to find the first appearances. DC doesn't really have that, so it really depends on what they do in the comics as to how important these books are going to be. So this here will be a little more speculative because you are speculating on DC doing something important with these characters, make them more important in the future so people will want to collect them later on. So this one here will be a little bit more speculative, but you know, maybe we're doing so for the cover price. These DC books are not that expensive, $3 or $4. You know, you could be sitting on a huge winner here if they go big. If they go nowhere, you're out a few dollars. So in our opinion, it's probably worth a spec. Grab this here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put it in your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Marvel Comics, SpiderMan Reign 2 number 1. This features the first appearance of Kitty Cat. Now, in contrast to the DC Comics, we do typically recommend picking up the first appearance of new characters in the Marvel Comics. You know, Marvel Disney is still a cinematic juggernaut. They're releasing a ton of media for the small screen and big screen, and you really don't know where any of these characters that are introducing in the comics may end up. If they hit the screen, people will race back to the comics to try to find the first appearances. With all that being said, Spider-Man is also the most popular franchise for Marvel Comics, so anytime there's a new character introduced into the Spider-Man universe, these are books, in our opinion, that are definitely worth picking up. So this one here is one we do think you should pick up for your collection. Go ahead and grab this one. Next up from Marvel Comics, Star Wars Inquisitors number 1. This features the first appearance of Tinsu Run, a Jedi Knight. Now, we always recommend picking up the first appearance of new characters in these Marvel-published Star Wars titles. You know, Marvel Disney is still churning out a ton of media for the Star Wars franchise, whether it's small screen or big screen, and you really don't know if they're going to pull any of these characters they're introducing in these modern comics to the screen. If they do, and collectors race back to get them, if you miss out the cover price, you will be paying a lot more in the future. So these first appearances of new characters in these Star Wars titles, in our opinion, these are definitely worth picking up. Go ahead and grab this one here for your collection. And finally from Marvel Comics, X-Men Blood Hunt Psylocke number 1. This features the first appearance of a new villain. Now at this point, we really don't know much about this new villain, but like I've been mentioning throughout this whole video, anytime there's a first appearance of a new character in a Marvel title, these are books you typically want to pick up. You know, Marvel Disney, they are going to be doing a lot for the small screen and big screen with the X-Men franchise. They do have the rights to that franchise again, so they are going to be planning a lot in the future. So you really don't know if these characters they're introducing in the comics are going to hit the screen. If they do, you definitely don't want to miss out. So these are definitely worth picking up, even if just for a spec. But like I said, in our opinion, $3 or $4, the risk is worth the reward on these. Go ahead and grab this one here for your collection. And now for the honorable mentions from Marvel Comics. Annihilation 2099 number 1. This features the introduction of the last Nova. The identity is currently unknown. Once again, a book we do think is worth picking up for your collection. You know, Nova, they are trying to make this character a big deal in the Marvel Universe and on the screen, and you really don't know if this character here, the last Nova, you don't know if this is the one they're going to bring to the screen and try to make a big deal about. Currently, we don't know the identity of the last Nova. That will probably be revealed in a later issue, but you know, this one here, in our opinion, is worth picking up for a spec. You know, if Marvel Disney are able to make this Nova character popular with fans and collectors, then you probably want to own this issue. You know, for $3 or $4, in our opinion, this is a great spec. So grab this in here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put it in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. Next up from IDW, Sonic the Hedgehog number 70. This features the debut of Sonic's Phantom Rider suit. Now, this is not a book that we would typically include on our list, but this here is a video game comics, and video game comics we do include, but this one here is just the introduction of a new suit. Now, the reason we put this on the list is because this has been getting a lot of buzz. You know, there's been a lot of buzz about the Sonic franchise and the Sonic character lately, and the fact that they're introducing a new suit here, this Phantom Rider suit, you know, this may be a big deal. We really don't know too much about this other than there has been a lot of chatter about this. So it may be worth picking up. This one here is definitely going to be speculative because you are specking on this being more important in the future. Sonic the Hedgehog does have a huge fan base and huge collector base, so it might be worth the spec. Grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, put it in your B-list and take a look at it later on. And finally from Dynamite, ThunderCats Chitara #1. Now this here is another book we typically wouldn't include on the list because we don't usually put spin-off titles on our list here. And this here is a premiere issue of this Chitara standalone title series spun off from the ThunderCats main series. Now we put this one here on the list because the ThunderCats main title series, that is huge. Fans and collectors love that series, and it does have a huge fan base and huge collector base. So that's why we put this one here on the list. This here is a premiere issue of this series. And you know, typically spin-off series don't really have the high print runs that the main titles do. So this one here may have that going for it in the future. But you know, spin-off series, they don't typically introduce a lot of new characters or new powers or new suits. They do that in the main title series. So we really don't know how important this particular issue is going to be. But like I said, it probably will have a much lower print run than the ThunderCats main title series. So that might be a driver in the future. But other than that, unless you're a fan of Chitara, this may not be one that interests you. But since this here is part of the ThunderCats universe and that's super hot right now, still may be worth a spec. So grab for a spec if you can. If you can't, put in your B-list and take a look at it later on. So there you have the 7 titles we have for you guys this week. There's definitely some books in there worth picking up for your collection. So please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. Thumbs up if you like this video. As always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Certified Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.